Welcome to the Franchise Freedom Podcast. I'm your host, Giuseppe Grammatico, your franchise guide, and you've made it. This is step number 4 in the Franchise Freedom Podcast. We did a 4-part mini series kind of covering what the process is. I'm going to put that here again at the bottom of the screen. Our process here you can find directly on our website, and just talking in a little bit more detail as to what to expect in our process, what we do with each and every one of our candidates. So, what do? We solve the problem in figuring out if business ownership is the right fit and if franchising is the right fit as a type of business ownership. We have an intro call. Step 1, figuring out that exact question, getting a general overview of what you're looking to accomplish, answering questions, and deciding together about moving forward. And that's key, deciding together, sending you the questionnaire, sending it back to us, and then we dive into step 2, which is the consultation. This is where we look at the motivations for the business, the characteristics, the financials, what you're looking to achieve, time frame. Lots of questions are answered here because as you're listening to the show, podcast, doing your research, ideas and questions are going to pop up. So that's step 2 in the process. Step 3, show number 3, was we created a franchise model personally for you that really outlines what your ideal business in general looks like. We've made some tweaks if needed, and we are exploring 3 franchise companies, which leads us today. So the intros have been made. We follow up maybe a week from that call as you've had introduction calls with each and every one of the franchise companies. And we sit down and figure out, or find out, I should say, thoughts, high level thoughts, feedback on exactly what you thought of each franchise company, pros and cons. What did you like? What didn't you like? Did you have some additional questions? Let's review those questions because it's going to take, as I mentioned, a few calls, right? It's going to take, we have our franchise review call, intro calls are scheduled within a day or two. So everything is kind of fresh in your mind. So there's going to be a lot of topics. The franchise company likes to kind of break it up and have a different topic every week. So first will be an intro. Second will typically be kind of a continuation talking about unit economics. There's going to be a franchise FDD, so a franchise agreement review, as well as a territory review. And then finally, after all that, it's going to be, an invitation to meet the team day, also called a confirmation day or a discovery day. It may be virtual, one day or half day. It may be they'll fly you out and reimburse you for a few days to meet some of the founders and some other prospective individuals looking at owning that same franchise. So each company, again, does it a little bit differently, but we've seen both virtual as well as in-person discovery confirmation days. And this is something that gets brought up a lot. And I typically say you're only really going to go to one of these when you're about 90% certain, as you really, in my opinion, you're not going to learn much. It's more of to solidify your decision, meet the founders, get a little bit more comfortable. You're making a big decision, so it's good to meet other people that are in the same boat as you, the founders, and just to have that comfort level. I did that myself, and it made a huge difference getting to shake hands and meet the founder of the franchise. So that's kind of an outline of the process. So what is the typical time frame? So the time frame could be anywhere from 6 to 8 weeks to 3 months, sometimes 4 months, and that depends on the time you are able to spend via your due diligence. On average, it's about we'll say 2 to 3 months. Funding needs to be tackled, or I always recommend in the beginning, because you want to know what your funding options are, as some options will take much longer, especially with a loan. An SBA is taking a little bit longer than usual, getting caught up there. So some options will take longer. Certain options are pretty quick, or maybe it's a home equity line of credit. But certain things, I always say it may take you at least a month, start to finish, from the beginning of paperwork to getting everything, especially with a home equity line of credit. Home needs to be appraised. If they are behind, that's going to delay the process. So I always say to start things sooner than later. But overall process, 2 to 3 months, I would say, all in, from our very first conversation to a decision. Some decisions are made much quicker. And what I mean by that is sometimes by the second call, your decision is not to move forward with the franchise, which is fine. We don't move forward. We put that franchise on the back burner. We continue with the other two options. For any reason, the three companies we look at, they're not matches? What happens from there? On occasion, we do look at a fourth option if the three just were not just getting there. They were almost there, but you really were able to kind of figure out and specifically determine you wanted one additional aspect or maybe a slight change in the characteristics of a business. We have and could look at a fourth option. So no problem there. That's something we've done in the past. So overall, the process is very straightforward. Having the end in mind, reverse engineering the process. Why do you want it? What does the ideal business look like? And then from there, we explore franchise companies. And we talked about the characteristics of the business. Maybe it's few employees. Maybe it's can be run from home where your employees are going to a homeowner because it's a home service franchise. There are lots of options, and people will ask, well, what's the best franchise and what's the franchise that can make the most amount of money? And really, as I mentioned in previous shows, it all depends on what you're specifically looking for. And that's why we concentrate on you. And I got to put this back up on the screen. It's all about you. We need to make sure it's a good fit for you. Two people that own the exact same franchise, maybe in two separate towns in the same state, one could be wildly successful and the other one not so much because maybe that was not the right business for them. If it was just say food and beverage, maybe that person that was wildly successful came from that background and enjoyed it, whereas a second person just heard of everyone's success and decided to dive in that franchise blindly without doing the research to find out, hey, you know what, this isn't for me. There's a lot of employees I have to manage, and not only that, it seems to be a lot of turnover, so that may not be the best fit for you. So we spend time there. We really kind of take a look at the business because that's going to be the most important thing. Now, when talking to the franchise companies and doing your due diligence, we talked about funding. We talked about the franchise agreement. You have the chance to review that. You have the option if you want to have that reviewed by a franchise attorney. You can hire a franchise attorney for that review. And if any suggestions, whether that be to suggested edits or if they need clarification on a certain part of the agreement, they can put together a list of questions. You can go back to the franchisor. Do franchisors typically make edits to their franchise agreements? I don't see that happening often, not to say it doesn't happen. So I think more of the intention is to give you a good sense or comfort level into the agreement themselves, but you do have that right to hire that franchise attorney. You can also speak with current franchisees, and we call this validation, which is the big part of the process I want to spend some time here on. And speaking with existing franchisees, and some may be live calls, one-on-one calls, some may be pre-recorded calls, and listening to existing franchisees. And this is kind of the heart of the due diligence because we've gathered all this great information. It makes sense on paper. Franchisor was able to get us all the information needed. We know what kind of money we can make. Everything is in line now. We have that opportunity, and you want to do it in a certain order. And typically it's get the info before contacting the franchisee so that you can put together a list of great questions to ask existing franchisees. So what does that look like? So we're working on a project right now. It's going to be a live document that everyone will have, which just gives sample questions. This isn't a complete list. It just gives you some starter questions, but things like knowing what you know now, would you do it all over again, right? You've been in the business 2 years. Are you happy? Are you getting the support? During COVID, this is a new question to be added. Did the franchisor step up? Did they pivot? Did they make changes to the business to help their franchise owners out? These are questions you can be asking. The level of investment, was that in line with what was listed in the FDD? Should I be concerned? What costs, if any, have increased? And then on your item 19, if there's a earnings claim, what kind of money can I truly make? Is there a range or an average? What did you make your first year? So you can have these questions. Keep in mind, you do want to talk to more than one franchise owner and call them not just in your backyard, but across the country. Calling people just in your backyard, you want to talk to just people in different parts of the country just to kind of get an average of response. Some people in your backyard, especially if it's close to their territory, maybe eyeing that open territory. So just be cognizant of that, and not saying that's good or bad, but if someone is eyeing a territory and their existing franchisee, that may be someone putting in a little bit of interest or calling, requesting additional information if it's still available. So do your due diligence, ask a lot of questions. Based off those questions and the review of the franchise agreement, ultimately you're going to have to make that decision as if this franchise is the right fit. So as you move along and the three companies get funneled down to two and then down to one, the franchisor, as you're getting closer and closer, will invite you to that discovery, meet the team day, confirmation day, both virtual or in person, and you will attend that. From there, as I actually may have forgotten to mention, this whole process is two-way. It's a two-way interview. The franchise company is making sure you're a good fit, and you're making sure they're a good fit for you. So they will review, management will review, founders review, send out an award letter. You've been awarded the franchise, been accepted into the system, and then from there, you have the ability to sign off on the franchise agreement should you decide to move forward. Obviously, have your funding and everything else in order. You've had the franchise agreement and everything reviewed, and you are ready to move forward. So this process, talking and working with the franchisor could be anywhere from 2-3 weeks, and a bulk of that time is really spending time talking with existing franchisees. And recordings are becoming more and more often because there's just been a huge interest in franchising. So a lot of franchise owners were getting calls. So in order for them to be able to give their story, talk about their experience, they've recorded these calls so that you can listen. Maybe you have a job. Maybe you're coming home on the bus from New York City or wherever you live, and you have that hour or two commute, just like I did, to listen in on these calls, which are great, and also have the opportunity to jump in a live call. So as far as the process goes, this is the fourth step, and the ongoing step, I will be with you every step of the way. So any questions, concerns, if we need to set up a daily call, I have done that in the past before. And after buying the franchise, I am always around should you have a question. I've had people come back to me saying, doing really well. How do I expand my business? Should I buy more territory within the same business, or should I buy another franchise that maybe complements my business? So to give you an example, in restoration services, maybe it's additional turf, maybe it's an additional group of zip codes or counties that you want to add and stay within the same business, or maybe you're servicing a couple 400 or 500 you've serviced in the past homeowners. Maybe it's going back to those homeowners and saying, you've expanded your business and now offering residential cleaning. So, another franchise to be purchased and training and things like that. But, maybe going back to those homeowners and reducing your client acquisition costs, which is always an interesting way of going about and looking at it. So, no one way is better than the other. Sometimes that second option works best because there isn't any territory left. And in other cases, someone maybe wants to stay closer to their home where they're physically located. So again, it's all about the right fit for you. That's part of the entire process, is being very selective. You can even call it being greedy, right? It's what works for you and your family. And so I encourage you to explore options. So I am with you. I've worked with people years and years and years after selecting their franchise. I've been in franchising since 2007, and still keep in touch with some people that we've worked together way back in my early days in my career. So, and that's basically it. We're always working together. I'm helping where I can. If it's someone I can't help directly, it's a partner we can maybe put you in touch with. I've even had, going back to the intro call, someone had called me. I felt like maybe a different career may have been a better fit. They were just out of college, not much in savings, and were in one industry. I believe they were in financial services. We put them in touch with a career coach, and that career coach was able to have them explore some other opportunities. Same type of role, but in a different industry that they may be more happy in. So I'm always willing to make those connections. We've had close to 90 shows here on the Franchise Freedom Podcast, and always looking to make some great connections, send some referrals. If we can't help directly, we know someone that can. So overview of the process. We spent a hell of a lot more time on these calls. This is just to keep it short and sweet. And again, just to help out, you asked, so therefore I came forward and wanted to kind of produce these shows. If I could be of any help, let's put it up on the screen again. Questions, gg@ggthefranchiseguide.com. Overview of the process. Same website, ggthefranchiseguide.com/process. And on the same website, just click on book now, book a call, I believe, or calendar, and you can book a 20-minute call with me. Even if you just have a general question or two or concern, want to bounce some ideas, I am more than glad I am on these calls. We are doing all video calls right now. If that works for everyone, and we have the bandwidth, obviously. We'll definitely be able to assist. So reach out. I check the comments, messages. The best way is to send me an email or to book that call. And in that call on the calendar, you can list some questions you have. So if it does require a little research on my end, I could be prepared for that call. If you're looking at something or have a very specific question you'd like me to look into beforehand. So again, thank you very much for joining us. I appreciate every one of you. This has been a journey. I love what I do. And, our goal here on Franchise Freedom, the podcast, as well as GG, the Franchise Guide, is really to empower you with the knowledge so that you can decide and make that decision going forward, right? If you come from money, don't come from money. We want to just empower everyone, level the playing field, and give you access to the people, to the information, and guide you through the entire process. If we can't help you right away, we'll put together a game plan. Maybe it's a 6-month follow-up. Maybe the funding company gives you some numbers to aim towards as far as savings and what you need, and making sure you have enough to cover the bills, the personal bills. So here to help in any way possible. Feel free to contact me. I've enjoyed this, and any other ideas, we're always looking for ideas for future shows. Or if you'd like to be a guest, or you would like for me to be a guest, book that call, send me an email, and looking forward to connecting in the very near future. Take care, everyone, and have a great day.